Hello, everyone, and welcome to Miss Carla's Corner. We are streaming a little bit differently tonight. It is 7:14. It has taken us a minute to get here, but we are here. I'm so excited tonight. I have a guest with me, Miss Angela Parker. Welcome, Angela. Glad to have you here.
Hey, Carla. I'm glad we got it together because it was touch and go, but I'm glad we got it together.
Look,
Technology.
we learned something new tonight, right?
We did. Yes, we did. We're
And
we're of
actually,
that age. We're of that age where it's like, okay, I know I need to learn this, but I just want to go back to the rotary phones.
exactly. But guess what? We're here. We did it. And we're going to see how this goes tonight, right?
We'll see.
This is new. Our first time. At least I know now how to bring someone on Restream, and we probably need to set it up in advance. I'm thinking. I don't know if you do the link in advance, but anyway, we are here tonight, and we are going to have a conversation. I can't talk right now around holistic health. And I really want to talk about what it means for someone because Angela works with that 50 plus channel.
Yeah.
And Angela, if you can just tell us a little bit about yourself before we get started, tell us about your YouTube channel, anything you want us to know.
So thank you for, allowing me to come onto your channel and inviting me. So my name is Angela Parker. My channel is unapologetically 50 plus, and it sounds like what it says. It's about I talk to many women, Black women in particular, 50 and older, and we just talk about the purpose and how we've changed over time and how we are looking at life a little differently than we did when we were in our 20s, 30s, and 40s, when we were taking care of family and friends, and now how we are ready to live our own life. We talk about the ups and downs of getting older, not just the gray hair and the menopause, but
Mhm.
just reinventing ourselves, if that's what you want to say. If you want to say evolving, whatever word you want to use, that's really what my channel is about. Just getting women of my age group in a community to be able to talk openly and authentically about what's going on in our lives, the good, the bad, and the ugly. So,
Right?
yeah,
And sometimes the good, the bad, and the ugly is happening all at one time.
all at once. Hopefully, it's
All
more
at
good
one
than
time.
the other. Hopefully, it's more good than the other thing, but it is
Yes.
what it is.
Exactly. Thank you for those of you who have joined us. I see we have a few people who have joined us tonight. Please leave us some likes while you're here. This is new, restreaming here. We are trying it tonight for the first time. And what a perfect time. We're talking about holistic health. And Angela, I just wanted to know if you could just maybe tell us what holistic health means. I know we hear the word and it's tossed around. What does it mean?
Well, holistic health is an approach that it's the whole body approach. We know body, mind, spirit, but it's recognizing all those aspects of well being, and they're deeply interconnected. So, some key components would include physical health, which of course involves movement, motion, rest, nutrition, preventative care. We have emotional health, which centers around understanding, expressing, and managing our emotions. And then, of course, there's the mental health, which includes the mindset, clarity, and stress management. So, and then you have, of course, the spiritual aspects, which adds the depth by connecting us to our purpose and our values and a sense of meaning. And that's what I'm finding, especially women of a certain age. We are really looking more into that mind, body, spirit connection.
Excellent. I think that's so true because, like you said, as a 50 plus woman who you talk to, and I've been on your show as well, We are living our lives so much more fuller than I believe our parents did. We believe that there's so much more that is possible for us. Excuse me. We are entering into stages and phases of places that in the past, would have never been thought of. And I love that about everything that is happening for this 50 plus woman, just thinking in terms of how she wants to live her life and really making those conscious choices to
Yeah,
live her life in a way that makes sense to her, not necessarily what the generation before her did, but what she thinks
right,
is best for her.
right.
And so go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, we're living it, we're trying to live it more unapologetically. And hopefully passing this down to the next generation of women who don't feel obligated. And I'm not saying is there anything wrong with getting married, not at all, or having children, but not feeling that you are obligated to do either one of those. If you want to do them, that's wonderful. But also, if you do decide that marriage and children are what you want, don't lose yourself in all that. And I know it's easier said than done. It's easier said than done, but you still want to retain, maintain who you are as an individual. Because even though you're married, and I've been married, it'll be 30 years this year.
All
Um,
right.
yeah. I had
Congratulations.
thank you. I had to come to a point where I have to recognize that I am an individual. My husband and I are a team, but I'm also an individual and he's an individual. And I'm thankful that he is so respectful of that. And we have that kind of communication and kind of relationship. But I would hope that the next generation of women, if you're in your early 40s, 30s, that you also, remember who you are in any relationship that, that you have.
Excellent. I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you talked a little bit earlier about emotional health.
Hmm.
How can emotional and mental well-being impact physical health in an in a holistic approach? Excuse me.
Yeah. So emotional and mental health, yeah, it plays a huge role in our well-being. And when we're stressed or anxious or, holding on to things that we might not have dealt with, it doesn't just stay in your head, it shows up in your body. We
Mhm.
heard about the tightening of the shoulders, consistent fatigue or constant fatigue, headaches, stomach acting up. It can go as deep as your joints, because
Wow.
all that is being held in. It's like the energy. If you take it like from a Eastern, and I have not studied Eastern medicine, I touched upon it when I took holistic health as my degree,
Mhm.
but the energy is not flowing. Your chi is not flowing when you have
Mhm.
all this, um, emotional, negative emotions hanging on or that you're holding on to. So it's really your body trying to tell you, hey, we need to let this go. We need to figure out whether it's therapy, whether it's meditating, whether it's woosahing, whatever you need to do, you need to figure out how to let this go. Um, and if your thoughts are always running or you're being hard on yourself, and we have a tendency to do that at our
True.
age, it'll wear you down over time. So we
Yeah.
really have to be conscientious of how we are thinking our day to day. Are we beating ourselves down? Are we overthinking? I'm an overthinker.
Mhm.
And with having to, learn how to run and do business, I'm always overthinking. So I could be laying in bed at 2 in the morning, overthinking, and I have to physically, tell myself, okay, we are going to stop. We are going to meditate, whether I have to put something on and listen to,
Mhm.
maybe it's water sounds or something, but I have to figure out in that time frame how to quiet my mind.
Mhm.
So, yeah. And then when you start taking care of your emotional health, like, processing how you're feeling and
Right.
shifting your mindset, it does change everything.
I like what you said there about shifting. And what I realized, for us to shift, we have to give ourselves space for that. A
Mm-hmm.
lot of times we will move right into another emotion without sitting with what we're dealing with, or,
Right.
like you said, thinking, okay, this is a good time where I'm going to maybe journal or go to sleep or whatever you're going to do. A lot of times we don't allow ourselves to think that way, and we immediately continue down that thought process,
Yes.
and it builds that stress for us.
Right.
And then before we know it, we're in stressful situations. We don't even know why now. It's
Mm,
because it's become a snowball effect, and it's just gone on and on and on.
yeah.
And now it's too late.
Right. Right.
Mm.
And
Yes.
that's the one thing we have to also remember when you said sitting with it, because sometimes we do need to sit with it and do some shadow work. Um,
Mm.
but then you have to let it go. And
Yeah.
that's one thing when my husband and I are talking, and sometimes you'll talk about the same negative thing that you talked about the day before. And what does
Mhm.
that do? What does that do to your body? I mean, if you're really in tune with your body, you'll notice that when I start talking about this negative stuff, my body, however your body reacts, mine, it's in my stomach. So when I
Mhm.
get stressed or I'm overthinking, it immediately, that's where it goes. It goes to my stomach, and I know, okay, I need to calm down, and I need to meditate or do whatever I need to do to move past these thoughts, these negative thoughts.
Right. Yeah, I love that, just taking that time and really, allowing yourself to sit with it,
Mhm.
and really, because I think, that our body will tell us what's going on a lot of
Mhm.
times,
Oh, yeah.
but we don't listen to it. So, how do we, from a holistic approach, um, learn how to listen to what is going on inside of us?
That takes practice, and that really does.
Mm.
It takes practice because by the time we hit 50, we should really know our bodies.
Mhm.
And if you have, and we should be in tune. I mean, most of us are. If we know if we're, when we need to go to the doctor. So it does take practice. And I think the best way, like you talked about, when you feel a certain way, maybe journal that down.
Mhm.
What am I feeling? Why am I feeling this? How long have I been feeling this? What was the trigger that caused me
Mhm.
to feel this? That's one way. I would say also just sitting with it and
Mhm.
thinking, and again, that shadow work.
Yeah.
Uh, Meditation, I know for me, and even sometimes meditating while you're walking and
Yeah.
getting into a space. Like me, I love the water. So if I'm
Mhm.
walking and I can just hear, the trickles of water, or go to the marina. We have I live in California, so there's plenty of water
Mhm.
everywhere. Um, I find myself at the beach or at the marina, and just listening to that water puts me in a state of really focusing on the peace and the
Mm.
tranquility at that time.
Yes.
So we really have to, it takes practice. It's not going to happen overnight. For the past, I'd say before I started my YouTube channel, my way of changing my mindset was I would listen to affirmations literally at
Mhm.
night, every night. So it would get deep into my subconscious. I will listen to how to let go of fear, how to let go of anxiety, how to let go of control. And that was one of the ways that helped me to be able to say, okay, what next? And my what next
Mhm.
was the YouTube channel. So
Yeah.
I just think we have to, and also give yourself grace. It's not going to happen
Mhm.
overnight. And especially if your life has been full of stress, high stress job, high stress relationships, whatever, it's going to take time. So you do have to give yourself grace when it comes to trying to change how you think and look at things that are going on in your life.
I love using that word grace because I think you don't think about grace until you mature. I think, grace is not even a part of your conversation. You're like, grace, what is that? You know what I'm saying? But when you get older, it's just that you've graduated in some aspects of your life and you realize grace is what happened as a result of that. You've come to a place where you understand, there's some things that I need that I couldn't give to myself, but I've learned that I need to. And here's one of those things that I can give to myself: grace.
Grace. Yeah.
Yes.
And I think also when we start giving ourselves grace, then we start giving other people grace. When
Yes.
we start being gentle with ourselves, then we're going to be gentle with other people. And that's just one of those, again, like you said, those are just one of those things that happens as you mature and you want that peace in your life. So you choose to say, I'm going to be a little softer.
Mhm.
I'm going to, put myself first. Not that I'm trying to, push aside anybody else's feelings, but this is what I need, so that grace and peace that you give to yourself, you'll start giving to other people.
That's true. It's
Yeah.
true. Because I think what happens is it emanates from you. It just, you can't help yourself because it's who you are. So
Right.
you'll find yourself in situations where you're sharing that with somebody else because it's who you've become. It's, what you do. It's a part of who you are. So it's not like you're faking it or you have to make
No,
it up. It's just
no.
a natural sequence of who you are and who you have become as a result of the things that you've been through.
Right. Right. And
And I know, go ahead.
oh no, go ahead.
And I know we're talking about the 50 plus woman, but do you think it's possible that a 30 plus woman could have these same experiences?
Well, of course, it's going to take a little more practice, I think, because at 30, I mean, remember when we were 30, well, we were in the middle of a career thinking we wanted to climb that corporate ladder. At least I
Yes.
did. We were in the middle of probably raising children.
Mhm.
So while, yes, 30 something can, you know, have the same grace and peace that we have, it's going to take a little more effort on her part because she has so much going on. She's so much in the world right now,
Mhm.
that she might not be able to see it, especially if she's
Mhm.
out working. And who knows, a lot of women now have very high, high profile jobs, and being great, giving grace and having that peace, in the workforce might not, especially, in America, it might not be an option.
Right?
So
That
that's
is
gonna
sad. I know we're laughing, but that is sad.
it
But
is.
true. Sad
It
but true.
Yeah, it is. It is. So, but yes, I think she can. It's just going to take some practice. And it might take some, someone to remind her, and
Yes.
someone to also be an example of that.
Mhm. And I think that's where, women like, ourselves can really make a difference for them because you're right, the skill set hasn't been established in them, most likely because of all the other challenges. What
Right.
has happened for us is we've been able to overcome some of those challenges. We've navigated our way through. We know now that we need to set aside time for ourselves. Whereas that woman who may have that high powered job and may have to deal with all sorts of things in the corporate world. And then you're coming home and you have to deal with your children and your husband. And
Right.
so you don't find time for yourself. And you don't, also, what happens is your energy level makes you feel like you don't need to do that because you need to keep going, going, going. You don't have to stop because that energy level is so high.
Right, yes, and that makes a lot of sense. That does make a lot of sense. For as you get older, you have enough energy to do A, B, maybe not C and D. So you're absolutely right. You want to, at our age, you want to reserve that energy, and you
Yes.
reserve it for things that are going to bring joy. And no, and I'm not saying that every day when once you
Right.
50 plus, it's going to be a joyous occasion, but you really are selective on who you're giving your energy to.
Yep.
While you're in your 30s, you're right. You have abundance amount of
Abundance.
energy, and you're ready to go, go, go. You're trying to take over the world. And then you become a certain age, and you're like, do I really care about taking over the world? No,
Right.
peace. I just
Oh
want
my God. Yes. And I'm telling you, the sooner you get there, the
to.
better because you don't start living. I promise you, you don't start living until you get to the place in your life where you can really determine that peace is something that is more valuable than anything else you could possibly have in your life.
Exactly, exactly, exactly. I did a video actually. I haven't posted it, and it was talking about that. Is at a certain age, you just want you look forward to peace over than being busy or being
Mhm.
liked. You prioritize your peace and your well-being. And going back to even the well-being part, if you don't have that peace and you don't have that calmness, then that is going to impact your health. And of course, in your 20s and 30s, you don't see it. You just keep
Right.
on going. Whether you feel this, the stiffness in your neck, or you get headaches,
Right.
because you're always under that stress,
Mhm.
you 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 start to realize that as you get older, that
Yep.
that stress and that lifestyle, that fast-paced lifestyle, it is impacting your health.
Mhm.
So I think the sooner that women in their 20s, 30s, and 40s understand that, hey, you need to slow down and you
Mhm.
really need to take care of yourself first.
Yeah.
Um, I think then you'll be able to grow older without having to worry about all the health issues that come along with, you know, taking on all this stress.
Yeah, it's so true. And I think, for myself, and you can, share your own, but for myself, as soon as I learned the lesson, I started walking in it because I knew that if I didn't, I wasn't going to make it to 60 or 70
Oh,
and so on. Because what happens is you start understanding that you know what? Nothing is promised. Tomorrow's not promised to me. I
mm,
don't know this job could end. You think all the federal workers who,
mhm.
some of them were my friends. I worked in DC. You know what I'm saying? And to now not have a job or to be worried about, your job, government folks always, they never had to worry about their jobs. I
Right,
worked with them. It was like, I can retire from here now
right.
all of a sudden, life is thrown a little curve. And so you never know when those curves are going to happen in life. So the sooner you learn to adjust yourself to understanding what really is important, the
Mhm.
better off you are. And I learned that. I worked in DC for a while. The pace of life was just so fast. And, for a minute, you think you're enjoying it and you're just going, going, going and you're on the train for an hour and a half going to work, you're on the train at night for an hour and a half, you work 8 hours on your job. It's just a lot,
That,
and you don't realize the wear and tear that it does on your body
right.
until it does on your body.
Well, it sounds like you were smarter than I was when I was younger, because in my 20s and 30s, I didn't learn lessons the first time. So up until my 40s, I didn't learn lessons the first time. I'm one of those who's hard headed and maybe let me try it a different way. So, I mean, I'm glad to hear that, when you were younger, you're like, I learned that lesson. I'm not going to repeat that. Not here. Not here. And I think that's why in my 50s, I am so appreciative of the lessons I do learn because now I do learn them and I really, really try hard now not to repeat them.
I know that's right.
Before, before I was like, okay, yeah, I know I learned. I know you telling me this, but I'm gonna do it again anyway. So it took me a long time to learn. The first time that that happens and it doesn't go your way, maybe you should take note of that and not do it again. So
Right.
I am appreciative now that through wisdom and lots of experience that I will not make the same mistake.
Right. And I think, half the battle is learning.
Right.
Coming to the place where you realize, hey, I just
Yeah.
can't do this anymore. It's,
No.
and for me now, because I still work, and I see the younger people and I'm like, boy, you're going to learn.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
gonna learn. And you know what? For me, it's like now I realize that I'm not trying to keep up with you. I can't. I stay in my lane. That's what has to happen. The
Yeah.
other part of it is you stay in your lane. You don't get out of your lane. I
No.
mean, that's wonderful. You have that skill set. This is what I have, and I'm sticking with this. And when it no longer works here, y'all let me go or I quit.
Because you don't feel like you need to compete now. I think that's the
No.
difference too. We don't feel like we need to compete. Yeah.
Yes.
And that's one of the things, and I know we're kind of getting off topic, but that was one of the things that I really enjoyed about collaborating with you, and the many women that I have
Right.
collaborated with. There's no competition.
None.
There's no competition. We're here to try and lift each other up.
Yes.
And I mean, if you want to put that in the aspect of holistic health, when you're not competing, you're not stressed, and your health is better. So
Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, I know, we talk about holistic health and, how does that differ from conventional ways of, being
yeah.
healthy?
Well, I'm not the biggest fan of Western medicine.
Mhm.
Yes, I take my yearly physical and so forth, but the difference is holistic health has a different approach than what we see in
Mhm.
conventional medicine. So instead of just treating the symptoms like we do here in Western
Mhm.
medicine, where here's a pill, take it, you'll be okay. It looks at
Mhm.
the whole person. And again, it goes
Right.
back to that body, mind, emotion, and spirits, because your emotions have a huge impact on your well-being also. So it's not just about in West or in Eastern medicine or in holistic medicine, I should say. It's not about writing a prescription. You're not just putting a band-aid on it. They are
Right.
going to dig deeper. So one, I had to make some notes on this because so I go to an Eastern, she's a Black woman, but
Oh,
she
wow.
does Eastern medicine, traditional Chinese medicine.
Oh,
And
okay.
I go in there, she takes my pulse. So, whereas when you go into the regular doctor and they take your pulse, it's really for like high blood pressure, right? That
Right.
thing. So, for Eastern medicine, when a practitioner checks your pulse, they're not just counting beats like a regular doctor's office. They're tuning into the quality of your pulse, how it feels, the rhythm, the strength, and the depth. So
Oh,
each
wow.
step, so she'll take, and I know you probably can't see, but she'll take both my wrists and she'll put three fingers on both sides,
Mhm.
from on the top part and the bottom, or the top part and the bottom part.
Okay.
And she is checking for the different organs. So each spot on the wrist is connected to different organs and system in your body. So they're using your pulse to get a read on what's going on inside. So in traditional Chinese medicine, your energy is qi,
Mhm.
and the way it flow and how the flowing was it is your energy or your qi flowing the way it should. Okay. And if there might be too much heat, there might not be enough strength in certain areas. And so when she was doing that for me, she could tell that my heart wasn't as strong as it needs to be. So
Oh, wow.
yeah, she provided some herbal medicine, which has helped.
Wow.
And then she asked me, do I run hot? And she was telling me what foods to eat if I run hot.
Mhm.
Um, and there's also the Ayurvedic, which is, the Indian or India, they practice Ayurvedic medicine. So they basically have the same type of, the way they read the pulse is different than Western medicine. So again, Western versus holistic, they're looking at the holistic is looking at the whole body
Yes.
approach, not just putting a band-aid on the symptoms, but trying to dig deep into what's really going on with your body, and how can we fix it with, either acupuncture,
Mhm.
massage therapy, herbs, food, all those things. So that's the main difference.
And I love that because listen, I was practicing holistic health before I realized I was practicing it for real. Because I have loved massages and acupuncture for as long as I can remember. And
Yeah.
let me tell you, so I grew up in church, and my dad was a pastor. Do
Uh-huh.
you know that they used to think that, oh my God, what are you getting yourself into? Getting massages and acupuncture. Oh, my, you know what I'm saying? It was the mindset of people that, we grew up in church with. But here, my grandmother in church as well, but she used to put herbs in a little bag that we used to wrap and wear around our necks in
Wow.
the winter time, and we never got sick. But they didn't think of it in
Mm,
terms of being holistic, none
no.
of that. But for my whole junior elementary school, we would wear it, and I remember it would smell so terrible, and I would say to my grandmother, "It smells bad. I can I stop wearing this?"
Uh,
And they went and got a longer string.
so it wasn't so close up, huh? You gonna wear this.
And Imma tell you what, I never got sick. We had to wear it was my uncle, my brother. We never got sick.
Oh, okay.
Never. Never got sick, but you didn't think of it being,
Mm,
holistic. But
yeah,
if I, a lot of our people came from the South, we could not afford medicine.
right.
So what did we do? We used those herbs. We found a way to heal ourselves.
Right.
And then all of a sudden now conventional medicine, and I work in healthcare.
I do too.
And yeah,
Mhm.
and now, like you say, it really is just about it's not about preventative care.
No.
It's not. It's
Oh.
and if we
There's
would
no
think go ahead.
I was gonna say there's no money in preventative care. It never
No, not
makes
at all.
money because I work for the pharmaceutical industry.
Yep.
And as much as I'm into holistic healing and stuff like that, it was hard for me. It was hard for me to go out there, and I wasn't a rep.
Right.
I helped on the insurance side of it, but it was
Mhm.
hard for me because my whole belief system was like, yeah, we're popping too many pills in this country, and it's not helping anything. It's just keeping us ill. And
Right.
what's interesting, you were talking about when you were younger, and when I was younger, so my stepmother was very much into holistic healing. And so we would go, and somebody have to look this up. I'm not going to explain what it is, but she would have me go get colonics. I
Yes.
colonics.
Mhm. Mhm.
When I went to the dentist, she would not allow fluoride on my teeth.
Mhm.
Um, we were always juicing something. She was always juicing something gross or having some gross tea that we had to have.
Right.
So
No.
I grew up with that.
Yeah.
And so when I got older, even though I kind of strayed away, when you become a teenager, you want to do like everybody else does.
Right.
But then I started finding out that, my stomach can't handle certain things.
Mhm.
And, as I got older, I was like, you know what? I'm going back to what I learned as a kid.
Yes.
didn't appreciate it
Mhm.
then, but I most definitely do now. So yeah, I think it's more ingrained in the Black community than we think. We've been
Right.
indoctrinated into going to for everything, going to um, Western medicine instead of doing like I do. I say I'll do my yearly checkup. I'll get my blood
Yep.
work done and see what the blood work says. And then if it doesn't come back the way I wanted to come back, okay, what do I tweak in my diet? What stress levels do I need to eliminate? And go from there. But I'm not taking your medication. I don't know how many times I go into the doctor now every year.
Oh, yeah.
At 50, they want to give you the shingle shot.
Every Yes.
And I'm not knocking anybody who wants to
No,
get shingle
right.
shots. I'm not. I'm just saying
Right.
for me, I'm like, no, I'm not doing it. Uh,
Right.
and I've been fine. 8 years in, and I don't see no knock on wood, no shingles. So
Right.
and I've known people who've gotten the shingle shot. And again,
Right.
I know this is YouTube, so I'm not saying do
Right.
get it or not get it because I'm not a medical
It's
doctor.
up to you.
I'm
Right.
not a medical doctor. This is just for teaching and educational purposes
Yeah,
only.
only. Right.
But
Right.
I've seen people who've gotten shingle shots, and whether they got shingles from the shingle shot or not, I don't know. But that
Right.
just told me I'm not getting it. I'm not getting the shingle shot, and everybody has to make their own decision about their body.
Right. I agree. I also believe that our mindset has so much to do with our health. The
Yeah,
thoughts that we think,
yeah,
you know,
definitely.
all the kinds of things that we engage in on a daily basis.
Mhm.
I'm on social media just like everybody else, but you really have to make sure what you're engaging in. We have people on social media now who throw hate out like they throw love, and you wonder sometimes how can someone be so filled with hatred and
Right.
point it towards someone they don't even know? But it's the world that we live in.
It
People are frustrated, they're angry, and
mhm.
all of that stuff builds up inside of you. And
Right,
so, unless you have the right kind of mindset, I believe the body will heal itself, but we don't give it a chance to heal itself
mm, mm,
because we're on to popping a pill. Even sometimes, like something as simple as a headache. Like sometimes I'll sit with a headache because sometimes it means I need more water.
that, yeah,
Sometimes it means, I need to rest. I got a lot of stuff going on in my head and I need to rest, or
right,
or I didn't sleep well last night. I had too much stuff. So, when you tune into your body, and this is how we started this out. You tune into your body, it will tell you what's going on. But we're so distant from our body being able to speak to us
right,
that is so much easier to numb it with a pill
right,
and not have to think anywhere past taking that pill. And so what I love about being that 50 plus woman is that we've most likely gone through that place where we've been told, and you got to do this, if you're black, it's diabetes. You got to, your A1C and all these things that we're told. And I have had to say myself, you know what? I'm going to eat a better diet. That's what
right,
I'm gonna do. I'm gonna eat a better diet. I'm gonna exercise. I'm
right,
gonna get my thought life together
right,
because I believe that in doing so, it's gonna keep me from getting addicted to medications, which
right,
I refuse to. I refuse to. I believe that the body can heal itself. I believe we don't give it a chance to do it. Cut yourself, get a little something, and I'm not talking about a big gash, but the body has a way of healing itself.
right, right. And I think it goes back to what you said. We don't give it time.
We don't
We
give it time.
we don't. We're in a society of let's get. I want it now. I want it fixed now. I don't feel good. I want to feel better by tomorrow. And in holistic medicine and holistic healing, that's not how it works, because your body does need time to heal.
Time.
Even with our eating, we eat constantly.
Yep.
Whereas sometimes your body just needs a break from food. You just need to
Yes.
fast, even if it's just a 12-hour fast, to give your
Yes.
chance to fast. Like for me, I don't eat until noon. Now, granted, I
Mhm.
will have my coffee or I will have my tea
Right.
before noon. That's when I'm trying to get in as much water as I can in the morning, my tea, my coffee. I mean, I there's so many little things that I take every morning. I try and drink bone broth every other day, but
Right.
we are so busy filling our bodies with food, and of course, most of the time, not very good food, that
Right.
we aren't giving our body a chance to heal. And then if
Mhm.
you're not sleeping well, you're
Right.
adding another layer of stressor to the body, because that's when our body does heal, is when we're getting that good restorative sleep. And if you're
Yep.
not doing it, then you're going to end up with some health issues, you know.
Right.
So don't 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 sleep on sleeping.
Right.
You got to
Exactly.
get that in. But like you said, and that's so very true, we don't give our bodies the chance to heal because we want a quick fix.
Yep.
And that's not the way our bodies work. You didn't get sick overnight, so you're
Right.
not going to heal overnight.
That is so true. And some of
Yeah,
this stuff, Angela, this really has become common sense that we don't exercise. We don't
right,
exercise common sense.
right,
And because we are caught up in this right now, quick fix sort of lifestyle, that we miss out on the benefits of things that happen over time and
right,
things that happen gradually and allowing things to evolve. There is something that happens in evolution, and
right.
we do not participate in that anymore. So we miss it.
Yeah. Just as simple as, something called grounding. And I know a lot of us
Hmm.
don't do it. Go
Hmm.
outside in the grass, you know what I'm talking about, and
Yes.
ground with Mother Earth.
Yep.
Put your feet, not with no shoes on and not with
Right.
no socks on. Just go
Right.
out. If you have grass in your backyard, just go stand on the grass barefoot,
Hmm.
and that energy that's coming from Earth, let it get into your body. Just stand there. I know people, oh, tree hugging. Well, you know what? Why
That's
not?
it. Right.
If that's what makes you happy and it's going to calm
Right.
your central nervous system, then do it. There's nothing
Right.
wrong with it.
I'm telling you, like even in my home, there are times when I will just lay on the floor,
Mm. Yeah,
just lay on the floor to just, to ground myself
yeah,
and just thinking in terms of, we're connected to everything.
yeah,
Everything is connected. We think that we're isolated or we're separated. We are very much connected to
yeah,
everything in the earth. And when we begin to understand that, I think we come out of those limited belief systems that really keep us bound in sickness and small mindsets. And so when you start hearing something that's foreign to you, you put up a red flag, but it's only because you haven't heard it before, or you think it might be a stretch. Sometimes you need to enter into those spaces just so you can hear something different that may, speak to exactly what it is you're looking for. But it
exactly.
won't help. It won't happen for you if you don't allow yourself to open up and to receive something different.
And I think people need to travel more, even if it's traveling to
Absolutely.
another state. Get
Yes.
to know other people, get to know other cultures, get to know how other cultures live a simple life. Because,
Yes.
especially here in America, and I can say even California, because that's where I'm from, it's very fast paced.
Right.
And if you don't know how other people live, or how their pace might be a little slower, especially in other countries, then you'll never, like you said, you'll never get to know how other people live. You'll never get to stretch and see how your life could potentially be.
Yeah.
Um, I know when I went to Portugal, it's a very slow pace, and that's
Mhm.
hard. I mean, that's something that's going to be an adjustment for me because I
Right.
plan to move. But I also know that it's going to allow me to evolve even more and
Mhm.
get to and understand and learn from other people, and hopefully that'll prolong my life even more. You know,
Yes. Yes.
but
It's
we've got to
true.
learn to look at other cultures, look at how other people do things, whether it's their healing, whether it's the foods that they eat, how they exercise, how they, release stress. But it just helps us to become better people.
I agree. And
Mm.
I think the sooner that we can open up to receive what's really waiting for all of us. You know what I'm saying? There are things that every culture can learn from another. And I think we don't do that enough. And like you said, even if it's going to the next state or, international travel. I've been fortunate enough to travel internationally.
Yeah,
And when you see different aspects of life, it really it increases who you are. It
right.
it causes your mindset to see things a little bit differently and know that your way isn't the only way. And I think that is the my takeaway from this today is that yes, there is, holistic health, and it's an option that is available to us. And so, if today is the first time you're hearing this, I challenge you to look at your life from a different perspective.
Yeah.
Maybe something was said here today that you may have needed to hear. I always believe that whatever we bring to this channel is exactly what is needed. And so, Angela, as we're closing out, what thought would you like to leave the listeners with tonight?
I I would like for the listeners to open up, try new things, stretch yourself. Don't be afraid to get to know something or someone that might be totally different from you. Take your health seriously because, like we've always heard, you only have one body. And
Mhm.
if you're in your 20s, 30s, or 40s listening to this, you might, I got plenty of time. I don't have to worry. My health is great. My health has always been great. I have been very blessed to have, a good, healthy um, family history. Uh, but as we get older, things are
Mhm.
going to break down. It's just inevitable. So take your health seriously. Don't think that Western medicine is end all be all. Try something new. Even if it is just getting a massage or getting acupuncture, try something new. It'll open up your mind to so many different ways of healing and and loving your body, mind, and spirit.
Excellent. Now, Angela, can you share with them again, my listeners, your YouTube channel?
Yes, my YouTube channel is unapologetically 50 plus, and it's not the plus sign. I tried to get that one, but it's PLUS, so unapologetically 50 plus, and I talk with women 50 and over, all things for women 50 and over. So, and I also think that younger women in their 40s, you would gain
Mhm.
something from it because you're gonna before you know it,
Right.
before you know it, you'll be hitting 50, will be knocking at the door. So, yeah, please
Exactly.
come on over and join. I'd love to have you.
Yes. Thank you so much, Angela, for joining us tonight. In spite of, whatever it took, we ended up
We got it.
learning how to get on a different platform. I love that. Now I know what to do.
I know you're evolving. You know, you learned something new.
Right. It was like, okay, let me go try this. And I'm so glad that we did. I
Yeah.
am so happy that you came and shared with us tonight. It was so good, even for me as a reminder, what is available to me. And, when I get myself in those situations, because, as someone who's always encouraging and telling other people, sometimes you need somebody who can share that same wisdom with you. And that's what you did for me tonight. So I thank you for that. Guys, please like, subscribe, share this video, go and follow Angela's channel, Unapologetically 50
And
plus.
that's a mouthful.
I know, right? It really is. You have to take a little break in between there. And what days do you, or are you going? I know you don't go live, but you have your show, that your podcast. What days is your podcast?
Podcast is on. I upload my videos on Wednesday and Friday.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So Wednesdays and Fridays, look for her videos, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in, guys. I could not see your comments. I do see that there are folks who are listening. And once I figure out how Restream works, it's on from there, let me tell you. But have a good night, everyone. And we'll talk to you again